This video is brought to you by my wonderful members and Super Chat sponsors. Click the join button to become a member. It's that time again, my friends. Time for a story that doesn't end in terror, heartbreak, or doom. This story is based on a Reddit post in the r/Ghost Stories channel by Ann Z. Brooke, entitled, "My Life Was Saved by a Ghost." The link will be in the description box below if you want to check out the original post, which I highly recommend. There's tons of interesting commentary and questions answered there. My boyfriend of 5 years has crushed on me for about 12 or 13 years. He was 2 grades below me and was the bad boy type, while I was more one of those stereotypical popular girls. I was taking all honors and college-level classes as well, so I wasn't really aware he even existed until I met him at my dad's business about 7 years ago. I only mention this because, apparently, he talked about me being his dream girl and was always teased that it would never happen. So in 2009, he and his best friend, I'll call him Josh, were getting into pills due to Josh's grandfather being an amputee. His grandfather was really bad at hiding his medications, often leaving large amounts of methadone, hydrocodone, and other drugs lying around his house. By the way, this was sort of before the major opioid crisis our generation is dealing with today. 2 days before Christmas 2009, Josh overdosed in the bedroom that my boyfriend is currently staying in. It's a long story, but basically, we moved back to our respective families because we were laid off during the pandemic. Josh died that day in 2009, but ever since then, I could swear I've felt his presence in the room. To this day, that room has never felt spooky to me, but I believe Josh, or whatever may be left of him, might be in the habit of pulling pranks on me from the other side. We have come to think of it as his way of congratulating my boyfriend on being with the woman he waited for so long. I've woken up to sticky notes completely covering my body, my drinks being poured all over the floor, and random objects moved right where I exit the bed so that I step on them first thing in the morning. Once in a while, I promise I even hear giggling. Each time I've angrily asked my boyfriend if he was messing with me, and he always says no. Mind you, I've grown exceedingly good at telling when he's lying. We like to think of it as Josh doing his thing, playing practical jokes, something he was well known for. But this is nothing compared to what Josh did for me back in 2017. This time, it wasn't a prank. Whatever has been messing with me all these years, it literally saved my life. About 4 years ago, I went into anaphylactic shock. I lost the ability to speak or move my lower body. I was upstairs with a steep staircase separating me from my phone, which I left on the couch downstairs. I remember crawling to the stairs, knowing it could be fatal if I smashed into the wall at the landing at the end of the stairs. As I struggled, my brain running low on oxygen, I saw a vision of Josh, along with 2 other friends of mine who were also deceased. They ascended the stairs and carried my limp body down to the living room couch where my nebulizer and cell phone were. I picked up the phone and dialed 911, but I had no voice with which to explain the dire situation I was in. I looked up in desperation. My friends were all gone, except for Josh. He told me he was going to wake my boyfriend from the hammock, where he was napping in the backyard. Moments later, my boyfriend came running into the house, and by this point, I was dying. I could no longer use any part of my body, and no air came into my lungs when I tried to inhale. I remember thinking of my daughter, and praying her father would help her navigate the loss and keep memories of me alive. Unfortunately, he actually died in a freak accident 8 months ago, so now I'm sort of fulfilling that role for him, but I digress. I struggled to remain conscious, but I was fading, fast. My boyfriend saw the phone with the 911 dialed, the operator waiting on the line, and my sweaty blue body. He told them he didn't think I was breathing, but by some miracle, there happened to be an ambulance passing through my neighborhood at that very time. The hospital was 30 minutes away, and it would have been too late if they sent one from there. My boyfriend later told me that When he was sleeping in the hammock, he saw Josh appear in his dreams, telling him that I was hurt. The coincidence of the ambulance passing through, plus my boyfriend's sudden premonition, saved my life. If it weren't for Josh and those EMTs, I wouldn't be here today. I remember the EMT asking my boyfriend if I had overdosed, which I had not. I wasn't on anything at the time. Apparently, once they gave me a large amount of epinephrine, I was blabbering on about dead people saving me. I guess it's no wonder they thought I was high. The doctors and EMTs were baffled at how I managed to get down the stairs, or even stay alive long enough to get help. I ended up getting out of that horrible situation with nothing more than a tiny bruise on my leg, along with the worst headache I'd ever had. Turns out, I'm allergic to the latex and spray paint. The weirdest thing is, I never met Josh when he was alive. I don't even know quite how I recognized him. Even if I did hallucinate him, I would imagine that it would be hard to do that with someone you've never met. Still, he looked exactly like the picture my boyfriend showed me. I've had a lot of paranormal encounters in my life, but my run-in with Josh saved me, and he never even knew me. When Josh died, he was only 15 years old. Like I said, it happened in my boyfriend's home. Josh's death shook the entire high school and ruined my boyfriend's reputation. He's carried immense guilt for it ever since. So, anyway, thank you, Josh, for giving me more time on this earth to spend with my daughter and my boyfriend. I wish we had met many years before. I do hope you are resting peacefully, but at the same time, I don't mind you popping in once in a while to check on us. Alright, my friends, so I will get into my thoughts, then we'll check out what the dreamers listening to the live show had to say. I want to thank the original poster for allowing me to share and read this story on my channel. I did a little bit of editing to it just to sort of fit my flow and narrative a little bit better, but there is a lot more to the actual post, so I would definitely recommend you go check it out and leave a comment. This person seems to answer a lot of questions, and some really interesting things were brought up in the comment section of the Reddit post, so check that out if you're so inclined. So, as you all know, I do love the opportunity to tell a positive story with a happy ending once in a while. The heaviness of the topics we often discuss can weigh down on even the most stoic of hearts, so I do appreciate the occasional pick-me-up. The image that stuck with me the most in this story, and might be something I try to capture for the thumbnail, was the idea of the three benevolent entities, ghosts some might call them, ascending the stairs in this young woman's place and taking her somehow into their ethereal arms and ferrying her to safety, giving her a fighting chance at survival. There's gotta be a thumbnail in there somewhere. I'll find it. I also found it fascinating that Josh told her he would warn her boyfriend, and he seemed to have done just that. I often wonder if it's possible to truly receive messages from the other side, particularly in dreams. At no time in my life has this question been more important to me than it is right now, after the passing of my beloved mother, as some of you might be aware of. Whenever I see my mom in my dreams, and that is quite often, I always reach out. I'm yearning for a few good moments just to see her smile, hear her voice, and be in her presence. The very last time I heard her voice in my dreams, she said she loved me. And the last time I saw her, I actually placed my hands on her shoulders and I asked her something. I said, "Mom, listen to me. Tell me where you are right now." And I believe I repeated it, like, where are you really? Not here, not in this movie theater or opera house or whatever this is. I want to know where you really are. And she appeared shocked. She looked at me, appearing shocked, and then she turned away and began to sob. And I wonder why, not necessarily why she did that, but why I saw that. Why is that something that my mind showed me? Was that really her? Who knows? I remember her telling us before she passed that she had no intention of trying to say or do anything more in this world once she was done with it. But I still wonder, I can't help but wonder, what would a person do if the afterlife that they get doesn't play out the way they expected? So, my friend, what do you think about this story? Do you believe the poster? Could it really be that she was rescued by ghosts from her past? How else would you explain her descending the stairs while nearly paralyzed and completely unscathed? Do you believe that we could be visited and even receive messages, whether it's in the waking world or the dream world, from the other side? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Now is the time to open up the floor for the dreamers listening live to weigh in. Remember, if you want a chance at your question or comment showing up in a future video, or the chance to sponsor a future video, turn on notifications so you can catch the live reading and discussion. So, Brett says, all my siblings saw my great-grandfather a few times growing up. He passed when I was young. They never met him before the encounters. Wow, that's really interesting. So, Brett, if you would, please explain, how do they know that they saw your great-grandfather? And did you see him, or did you see him at some point after he passed as well? Very curious to know that, and I'll come back to it if you do have any input on that. Ambar says, my dad passed away at 47. He always checked my car and checked on me when I went on road trips. I can definitely say he's been with us during this trip as well. I like to think that he is with you right now as you drive you're driving through Texas now, I know that. Cross-country road trip would be the perfect place for your dad to be hanging out with his little girl. And I really hope that he's at peace and he's right there in the back seat hanging out with you guys, just quietly listening. Sleepy says, I believe that some people in our lives that pass away become our guardian angels or just look out for us, the ones that really loved us. It's comforting to know, and it is possible. Anything is possible, Sleepy. I do believe that. Sleepy also says, I believe people are visited in dreams. My sister dreamt my mother was going to die, and she did months later, last November. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible news. She now dreams my mother and father are together and happy. And there's the flip side. I'm glad you put that in there as well, because yeah, it's sad. It's so hard to lose a parent that you're so close to. And yeah, I'm very, very sorry to hear that. But I hope in my heart that if there is such a thing as people maintaining their essence and still being who they were in life, I hope that they are together and that they're happy. Dark Phoenix says, Josh is such a nice person and he wanted to help someone in need. He saw the opportunity to help her. I had several premonitions where I saw my loved ones die before they passed away, so I know this is a real thing. Dark Phoenix, that sounds like there's a lot, there might be a story there. And I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your loved ones, but I really am interested in the idea of premonitions. If you can be so kind as to shoot me an email if you have some, story to share about that, that'd be really interesting. Reed says, some entities seem anchored to this world by fear or pain or rage or some emotion they carried when dying. Josh and those other people seemed to be free and come and go as they pleased. That's an interesting idea. I wonder if that makes a difference, if how peaceful you were when you died and how okay you were with it. Does that control or determine how restricted you become in the existence that comes next, if there is such a thing? Very interesting concept. Samantha says, you may not have intended for that to come out, referencing the dream of my mom, but it needed to. It could be worry weighing on your mind for your mother. Perhaps it projects partially in your dreams. Just a thought. You know, for some reason, it didn't ring in my mind that it could just completely be me and my regret for the loss of my mother. I mean, I've always been respectful and loving to my mother. The few times that I did disrespect her, I always apologized and we always patched things up. I never had bad blood with my mother, ever. And neither of us, as far as I know, had any regrets with our relationship. And I'm very fortunate to be able to say that, because I know a lot of people, sometimes it's not even in their control or their fault that they do end up with regrets. But if there was anyone who ever left this earth at peace and with a brave heart, it was my mother. And I would imagine if there is anything that's troubled about it, it probably would be on my end, not hers. And that's not a bad thing to me. I have time to deal with that and process it and hopefully get to a point similar to where my mother was when she died, which was encouraging and making people laugh as she was on her deathbed. You know, people would come in crying and leave laughing. So that's one thing I will always continue to aspire to. I almost said expire, which would have been sort of ironic, a slip of the tongue, Freudian slip even maybe. But yeah, thanks for that, Samantha. So back to what Brett said. Brett said you said your siblings saw your great-grandfather when they were younger and periodically said his name was Grumpy, which was your great-grandfather's actual nickname. And you also saw him twice after his passing. That's so interesting. So this was possibly a talking apparition. Very interesting, Brett. Thank you for sharing. And thank you all for your input into this story. It completely elevated the experience, in my opinion. And if I feel that the experience was elevated, I'm sure that the listeners will as well. So thank you. So now, we gotta come up with a code word. I'll be right back. So we have possibly the first ever double code word situation going on here. Brett said guardian should be a pretty good code word for today's video, which I agree. Aesthetic Waif said cuddles, because I wanted something warm and snuggly. And I couldn't decide, so I'm thinking, let's do both. Work the words cuddles and guardian into your comment down below if you're listening all the way to the end of the video, so I can see you. Alright, my friends, until next time, take care. Later. All right. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to like and share. If you made it to the very end, you're exactly the kind of subscriber I'm looking for. Don't forget to turn on those notifications. That way, you can catch the live show and discuss the stories with me. Your input might even appear in my next video. Last thing, if you heard a code word after the story, Type it in a comment down below so I know who the real dreamers are. Take care, my friend. Until next time.